Morning. You join me on a lovely December morning. Got the whole weekend for this job, and the job is getting the engine and the gearbox, minus the washing up liquid, back into this. So this is the Flavia. Done a bit of engine braid prep. One inside's had a coat of dinner troll, just to put a bit of life back into the under seal. You can see I've stopped it there. It's had a good go all around the wings. Anyway, I'll get the car pushed out of its temporary shelter into the garage and onto its stands. So making good progress. The car's now up on axle stands. I'll just quickly flip around and show you that. So we've got it reasonably safely stood up on the back of the subframe. This might look a little bit familiar to any Harry's Garage viewers after having looked at his Flavia Zagato rebuild. It's basically pretty much, I think, the same sort of subframe system on the Flavia and the Flavia. Engine stand waiting, great big hole, and the engine and gearbox still in the same place. I'm intending to put the gearbox and the engine in separately, with the gearbox on that trolley. Still, that's the plan anyway. Right, well, I've made some progress. The engine is now on a hoist. I'll just flip the camera around for you to see. So it's on a hoist, but it sort of seems to be ideal. I'd want it to rest like that, but it wants to sort of spin around 90 degrees, so we'll just have to cope with that as it goes in. It shouldn't be too bad. And the gearbox is sitting on a trolley, which is quite handy, because hopefully I'll be able to either move it around a bit, raise it, the car, lower the car to get it to meet. I've only had one slight accident so far, and that is that the gearbox fell off it fell off this trolley and it broke. It bust the reverse switch, but that should be easy to get from Omicron, from Andrew and the guys there. So I'll just hoist the engine up and show you that bit by bit. Very loose weight, whatever, because I haven't got any bearing, I haven't got any drive shafts in here. But this one was suspicious, and it's a lot looser than the other side. I think the bearing on the other side, on the inside, needs to be tightened up. But easy access, as you can see. Right, see you shortly. Here's where I've got to now. The engine's in, although you can see the gearbox bell housing there. I've got the gearbox on a trolley, on a trolley jack. So my idea is to try and get the trolley, and the gearbox is also strapped onto the trolley jack, so it doesn't fall off again. And my plan is to raise the gearbox up and just pull it forward onto the engine. You see, simple really, but we'll see how we get on. I can't really video it, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. Anyway. So you can see the gearbox is moving towards the engine, just needs to come up. bring it forward a bit so the bell housing clears this cross member. Let's see if I can lean the engine down a bit at the back. That's the that's a bit far. So this is coming together. I think if I just raise the engine a bit, I'll get a better angle on the gearbox. Yeah, that's looks like it's picking the gearbox up now, so that suggests that the central spline is actually engaged. I don't want to stick any bolts in yet before I get the base of the gearbox a bit closer, so I'll let the gearbox down a little bit and just try and give it a little pull in. So the faces almost look, well, they're not quite parallel, but I'll try and pull it from the bell housing this time rather than just yank the not bad. Again, if I let the gearbox down a little bit more, or even raise the engine a bit. I'll just raise the engine a bit. I don't think that's going to make it easier. No, that's stiffened it up a bit. Let's pull the gearbox down and then see if it goes any closer. They look pretty parallel. There's not much clearance between the flywheel and this flange here. But it looks like it's going in the right direction. Come on. I may get a big spanner on the front of the engine to move it around, see if that helps alignment. Good, that's now the engine and gearbox together, not bolted but they've definitely gone together. I had to reposition the jack to lift the front of the gearbox up a little bit more and wedge the back, but it's a one-man job, that's not too bad. Time for a cup of tea. You join me at the start of day 2 of the Flavia engine refit. Day 1 was pretty good. There were some bits at the end that were quite frustrating. Getting the the cradle that holds the gearbox on was harder than I thought. I'll show you what I mean by that. Just this is the cradle that holds the gearbox on, mounted on this cross piece, and these 4 bolts you can see, 2 either side, go through the aluminium casing of the suspension system. They're really hard to line up, but without too much force I managed to get them in. You can see the gearbox is really mounted by one fixing to this cradle. And interestingly, the engine is only mounted to this front cross via one bolt going into that plate. So today it's a case of following my simple instructions. So this is how I took it all apart. So hopefully I'll just have to follow that in reverse and we'll go back together again. Anyway, I'll give you some updates throughout the day. Halfway through day 2, we're doing okay. I'm just really working through my list, which I'll show you. These are the order of which I finished doing things. So anti-roll bar was the last thing to come on, so I've just been working back up through my numbers. Where have I got to? 36 at the top of that one, and all this lot. So gearbox, subframe back in, exhausts back on, exhaust manifold, and this is sort of a straight from the cylinder, straight from the engine to the mid pipe. So yeah, making progress. I'm not sure whether I'll get it started today. You know, there's no point rushing the last bit for a silly mistake, but I'll let you know how I get on by close of play today. Join me later. Well, welcome back. I think it's ready to turn over. It's all in. I'll show you. So everything is connected apart from the fuel. Got all the spark plugs out. To turn it over and build up some oil pressure. There's no fluid, there's no coolant in it, and there's no fuel going to the fuel pump, so that's the feed to the fuel pump down there, and then there's no fuel going to the carb, so I don't want it to fire. Equally, there's no power getting to the distributor. I might just move that away from the fuel line, although there hasn't been any fuel in here for months. It shouldn't. There's absolutely no smell of fuel. But the goal at the moment is to turn it over, build up some oil pressure. The oil cooler is obviously completely empty, so that'll have to fill. The fuel for the oil filter will be empty as well, so that'll need to fill. But it's got a full sump. But anyway, I haven't turned it over yet. I did just try the ignition, and it immediately put the fan on for some reason. That's because I'd incorrectly wired this light, which must be live on ignition. That's supposed to go to the light in the bonnet, but somehow, through the magic of electricity, it managed to create a circuit for the fan. So I think I may have blown the fuse for the lights, but we'll get to that. Anyway, let's see if it turns over. I don't expect it to make a very nice noise, but we'll see. So that's the gauge that we're looking to build some pressure on. Here we go, first time in a long time. So we've got lights and it's a push button start. There's no drive shafts on, so I don't need to push the clutch, but it's noisy because of the flywheel. Hopefully not the engine, but no sign of oil pressure yet. Obviously trying to preserve the starter motor and the battery, but I can put the battery on charge overnight. But I'll just give it one more turn and then check the oil level. Right. Well, this has taken quite a lot of turning over, but I put the ignition on now. You see a slight flicker from the oil pressure gauge, which is a small victory for the small man. And then if I turn it on again, there's a little leap there, which is good. I don't know why it leaps like that after a while, but I'm sure some Lancia cognoscenti do. I'm not sure I can really expect much more pressure at this stage. We'll see if we can get some more. Well, that's not bad. When the engine was running back from Genoa, it wasn't giving much more than 35 psi on when driving, so yeah, that's good enough. Right, well, as you saw, we got some oil pressure, which is good. That means there's oil pressure. So what I've now done is I've filled the radiator with 2.5 litres of blue, as per the Lancia instructions. It says fill it with 2.5 litres, then add water that you would be able to drink, which is interesting. And then what else have I done? I've put some hydraulic fluid in there because I don't know, you probably shouldn't run that pump without fluid in it. I've connected the coil to the distributor, and the plugs are in there. So and I connected the fuel pipe to the pump, which you can just see down there. That's the fuel in, and this one's fuel out, going through one filter into the pump and then another filter out of the pump into the carb. So I've sucked the fuel up to this point, so there's no fuel yet in the carb, so I don't expect it to start instantly. Anyway, back to the cabin. I've even optimistically opened the garage door in case there's any exhaust fumes. Oh, where's the choke? Right, that's the bonnet. Where's the choke? That's the windscreen wipers. Choke, 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 where are you? Where is it on my Flavia? Hold on. Right, I found the choke. It is down here. So full choke. I don't know where to point this. Oil pressure maybe. It will sound completely different now. It's having to drive the engine with the plugs in. Nothing yet, but the carburetor's got to do its job. Let's go and see if I can smell any fuel. Right, I think I'll have one more go this evening. See if I'm going to get some life out of it. Otherwise I think I'll just put the battery on charge overnight and see how we go tomorrow morning. Just check I've still got the choke out full. Yeah. See that working on the carb. Choke in, choke out. And this is the this third light is the choke light. Right, let's see if we get any life. It's quite funky. That's off. That's ignition, and then you push it to start. I think I'll just pull a spark plug, see if it looks like there's fuel getting into the engine. So I was pretty determined not to start yesterday, and I identified that I was getting no spark at all to the plugs, so I did a few tests, which you saw from the previous couple of little snippets. So this time I'm hoping it's just going to fire up as it tried to start on 3 cylinders. Yeah, so let's see if it runs. Let's give it a bit of choke. Pretty good. Full choke. Well, that's not bad after 52 years and then a full rebuild. Let's just try it again. Oh, isn't she quiet? Let's just try it without any choke at all. See. That's pretty exciting. Let's try on full choke again. It doesn't like it when I touch the accelerator. So good oil pressure. I'm pretty sure I only ever saw 35 psi of oil pressure when it's driving before.